Hi Dave.
Right.
Thanks for letting us come today to interview you. So when did you start off with Birmingham Rollers?
When I was 10-year-old.
You were 10 years old.
Mm.
So what made you...
It was in the family.
Was it in the family?
Yeah, I mean, we grew up with them. We did. Not just rollers, I mean, you never seen a roller in them days. I've seen one roll once in an hour, that were about it. You didn't see rollers like you see them now. They were crap. So, I mean, a lot of it is, I keep them just for keeping sake now. I don't like them. I don't. It's just that I've been there all my life, so it's just a matter of putting up with them. Yes. He's going to get a good chance this year. Yes. But when we go away, I'm going to lend him my stock birds.
Okay. So which family did you start off with then? Which family did you start off with?
The first pigeon I had was off of Tom Brown in Scotland. Cost me £5 a piece. And I sent from when I was about 10, 12 year old. We got them, and one was massive, great big massive grizzle. And I thought, that's never a fucking roll. I thought it was a racer. So I swung it out, and it went up, and it rolled like a fucking top. But as I look at it, we're going back down and going in. So we bred loads off of these 4 pigeons. And we started flying them. And they'd fly until they were about 6 months old, and then they go straight down to the floor. And I ended up with 2 kits of roll downs, because I thought they were the best things since sliced bread. I did. So I ended up with 2 kits of roll downs, and then I realised that I was just keeping them for nothing, so I killed them all. Then I got married, and I still kept rollers, but nothing doing with them like. Then we went up to support see Paul Seymour, and he got tiplers, and he turned around to me and he said, "You'll never fly tiplers in 12 months." I said, and as it was, I knew half I knew. So I went up to Arthur, I said, "Get some pigeons, Arthur." And I borrowed, well, I didn't borrow them, I gave them 2 half-sisters and an unrelated cock. And I bred off them. The next year, I flew the young ones. And they flew all right. And then the next year I flew them as old machine. Well, I broke the world record but couldn't get the cunts down. And I flew them for 20 years. And what it was in the end, last year I flew them, my son flew as a novice. And he flew them and he won every club fly. He did. And he took 9 national cups. And he broke 2 records. And we went to the presentation at the National, and he got 9 cups. He won 17 cups in the year. Yeah. And he's got these cups down on the table, and this bloke walked up, he says, "You wouldn't have won them if it weren't for me." More or less saying to how flew them. So I turned round to the bloke, I said, "I tell you what," I said, "I'll put a fucking £1,000 on the table." I said, "Now come home with you." I said, "You match it and I'll stay at your house for 2 fucking weeks." I said, "Then you to have a fly on." I said, "Let's see what you made on." And his bottle went, well, we went home, and he wouldn't fly another pigeon. He's never flew another pigeon from that day to this. Yeah. And I said, "Well, that's enough then." So by 10 o'clock Monday morning, there was not a tippler in the shed. I got rid of a lot. But I got my rollers, and what I used to do with the rollers, I'd use them as droppers for the tipplers when I was flying them through the summer. And come September time, when we stopped flying the tipplers, I'd fetch the rollers out and I'd fly the rollers through the winter. And when I decided that, I tried to join 2 racing clubs in Leicester and all that. So I joined the All England. And it come to the first flight in 1990, I think was the first flew. I put an old bird kit in and a young bird kit. And the young bird kit come 4th and the old bird kit come 7th.
Was that from the previous family or was it a different family?
That was from the previous family. But they were Harris. They was.
They were Harris birds,
yeah. In 1970, the Harris pigeons. And we come down. John Russell offered me an open check for the young ones. But I didn't want it. And I picked 4 birds out there, 2 teams, and I killed the rest.
So what do you do with them 4 birds?
That one we stopped birds.
That was stock birds.
And that's all I've had ever since. People say I've put pigeons in, but I'm not. You can go and check the rings over there.
So,
every one of them rings will be my fucking ring.
How did you cultivate that family with them 4 birds? Can you tell us?
Right. It's very hard to do. Right. So what I've done is I paired the 2 pair up.
Right.
I bred 6 youngsters off each pair. I picked the best 2 youngsters and in cock and I crossed them over each other. Right. I bred 6 youngsters out of them. I picked the best 2 out of the 6 youngsters and I crossed them back over to the parents. Right. And then I bred 6 out of each. And I put them youngsters that come out the best to the furthest away. Right. So every time I breed, the furthest pigeon away from the genuine, the original, I'll bring back to the originals. And it will come down the line. It will. I never pair the same pair any year. Every pair I pair up every year is a different pair. Go and look my stock book now and you'll see it. None of them pair the same. So you've got to have a genuine flammer to do it. Now, I've just showed him some boxes in the garage. Well, if you get 5 really good cocks, I mean proper stock cocks, and that's all I could say I've got in there is 5 proper pair of stock. Right. But you want 5 stock ends, right, and 5 trial ends. Right?
Are you talking about the bull system now?
No, it's not the bull system at all. It's got fuck all to do with the bull system. Right? So you've got 10 ends and 5 cocks. So you pair the end to the cock, right? The actual youngsters, they bring the youngsters up. As soon as you see that cock starting to drive that end away, you take that end out. And you put another one in, right? And by the time them youngsters are ready to come away, it's put the second end down. Right? So you can keep rotating them. Every time you move them out, you can rotate that end the next time onto another cock. So by the time you're done, all your ends have gone around all your cocks. Yeah. So now you've got 10 ends, right? And only 10 ends, with 5 of them ends being, let's say, new ones. That you know at the end of the year whether you can rotate them ends onto all the cocks because they've all been done. See what I mean? So you've done half your work for you. The next year you can't do it because you've got to pair another 5 cocks of them ends, right? Well, there'll be 5 cocks that you picked. Maybe you ain't got 5. Unless I need a pigeon in the stock loft, I won't put it in. I won't. There's a pigeon out flying in there. Well, you got it down your house. It's 13-year-old. It's never been in stock, and it's been flew in every single kit. But its brother's in there. Its brother's in there. The son of the brother's in there. The son of the son of the brother's is in there. See what I mean?
What do you look for when you're picking a stock bird from the air?
From the air, I look for three things, and it's got to cover all three things. If it don't go in stock. I'll put the bird in very good condition, right, where it's high up on its toes. I'll put it out and it's got to roll, right? Then I'll put it in a working condition and it's still got to roll. Then I'll knock that pigeon down, and when I say knock it down, I mean knock it down, right? And it's still got to roll and it's got to lose no control and it's still got to have the same speed. Now, if it don't do all of them, it's no fucking good. It's okay putting these pigeons in that you knock down and make them roll, right? But they're only going to breathe for life. So the young ones off them, you've got to knock down and make them roll. I want a pigeon that can roll under its own steam. You've just watched them young ones. Watched them for 45 minutes. Didn't stop rolling in 45 minutes. It's stock birds are the best thing in the world that you could use, right? And to have a stock loft, you've got to have a compatible stock loft. It's no good having a stock loft that you pair the same pigeons up every year. It's not going to work. Because you end up with a load of pigeons in the air. Where are you going to go with them? You don't know. So, if you say to me which is the best pair in my stock loft, right?
Open loft, closed loft.
Okay.
If you ask me the best pair in my stock loft, there ain't one. Because equally every pair in that stock loft means as much to me as the other. And if one pair produces better roll than the other, that pigeon paired to a different pigeon next year might not produce that fucking super pair.
Do you?
The other one did.
Do you do individual boxes breeding, or do you?
Last year I bred from an apron shed, and that's the first time I've ever done it. If you go in my garage now, there's a lot of pens that's going to be made up in there, and they're going to be put in that garage, yeah, and they'll go back to individual breeding because I don't like open loft. I want to know 100% what that pigeon does. I do. And the pigeons that are bred from their own loft will never get bred from me. It's like I'll loan pigeons out and they'll bring me them back and they'll bring me a couple of young ones with them, right? And I'll fly the young ones and they've got different rings on. Yeah, not my rings. But you'll never see them pigeons go in that fucking stock loft.
Never.
Never. Don't care how good they are. I was telling you, weren't I? There's a bronze cock over there now. A very, very good pigeon.
Who was that? Who was that bred by?
Paul. What's his name? Paul. Oh, I can't think of his fucking second name. Paul Platt. Right. Now, I had 20 youngsters off him because of all these Burkitts and we're going on about these Burkitts. Now, I always said they were no good. Right. Now, Paul had Burkitts. And I turned around to Paul and says, breed me a kid's Burkitt so it can fly. That's the only pigeon left out of 20. Yes. Because they do stupid things. They do. The roll when they're coming into land, they're a fucking nightmare. And you'll see pigeons, people walk out of sheds and they've got fucking birds all under their arms and everything. You'll never see that here. If you can't come through that door under its own steam and go back in the door under its own steam, it won't fucking stop here.
I was going to ask you, Dave, is the location important?
Not really. I mean, you can see what it's like around here. I've got trees, I've got pylons, I've got fucking trees at the back of my shed, 15 foot above them. Don't stop on landing light shed, did it? And you could see it never moved, did they? So, location, if you come here, right, I could put them pigeons in dots, if you wanted them in dots, right? And I could put them 25, 30 foot above the house, if you wanted them there. Or I could put them like what's that on our side.
Yeah, today was kind of nice height, to be honest.
It's all down to feeding. It is. I mean, them pigeons what you've seen today, I'll tell you what they're fed on. A bag of wheat, right, with a third of a bag of conditioner, and a quarter of a bag of young bird mixed up. That's what they're fed on. So now if you're going to tell me that it's the way you feed them, it's a load of bollocks, because they're fed as much as they can eat.
So if you had a competition now, say like 2 weeks to now, how would you change your feed and how would you get...
You would never change them from the way this is now. You see, if you're talking about a different thing, you're talking about a kit that's flying just every day, and you're talking about a kit that's getting set up for competition.
Yeah, so I want to know, so...
Right. Now, there's two ways you can fly them. You can fly them the way I fly them now, which is you feed them as much as you want. Now, when you feed as much as you want, you think they just get fat and all that, won't you? But they don't. When you feed as much as them pigeons can eat, for a start, they'll gorge it. They will. And they will put a bit of weight on. But you carry on doing it, right? And they'll start to lose weight because they won't eat it. They'll only eat what they want. And by the time you're done, that body will be apple figured. It'll be round, it'll be dead light, the framework will be light. And when you let them out, the tails will be open, they'll be flying nice and slow. Right, then you've got them in that stage, right, which is condition. The next thing you don't do is you don't fly them every week. You never fly them. If I fly my pigeon once a week, that's as much as you get flying. Twice a week at the most, right? And if they're not in competition, they don't get fucking flu.
No, what I want to know is, say if you got a competition in 2 weeks' time, so how would you get your birds? How would you get your birds ready?
You start them, right? First day, 10 days before you start flying, before your competition, right? You'd put them out, and they'd be flying horrible because like they ain't been out. So they'd be going spinning around in circles. So you'd fly them there, you'd cut them back say a tablespoon off them, right? You'd keep them in for 2 days, you'd fly them again with that bit of reduction on the food. They'd still not fly very well, so then you'd keep them for a day and you'd still be cutting them back every time. So let's say you took 2 spoons out the first day, you'd take 4 out the next day, 6 out the next day, so the food's going down. But as the food goes down, right, the fat that's on the body develops into muscle, right? So as you carry on, so you miss them a day and fly them the next day they perhaps do fucking 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So, but you don't worry about that. Then you'd hold them up for a day, same again, and then you'd fly them the next day. They'd start working, you'd see a bit of work rate out of them. You would. Not perfect, but you'd see them start to move. So you'd take it away from them again. You would. Then you'd fly them the very next day, right? Well, what's happening now, you've turned the fat into muscle, right? And what you're doing now is you're flying the muscle off of them, right? And taking the framework of the bird away. You're taking the body away from the bird. What they'll do is they'll come out, they'll put a break in on the way out, they'll fly for 20-25 minutes, put a break in on the way in, and they won't do football else. Right? That's when you start to build them back up. Because you know you've took everything out of them, right? You took the fat, you turned it to muscle. You took the excess fat off of them and lightened the frame, right? So now what you do is you'll feed them back up for 4 days, well 3 days, because you fly them on the 4th, right? Now, if you got it right, and you don't always get it right, believe me, if you've got it right, then pigeons will do anything up to 30 fucking breaks. Well, if you've got it wrong, you won't even see a pigeon turn over.
So in that
You know.
in that progress, would you give them any grit or
No.
anything in the water?
No.
Nothing at all.
Anything I'm dealing with, garlic in the water, you give them with garlic, clear the nose, purify the blood, and clean all the kidneys, liver. That's what you get it for. It is. That's what garlic does. Alright? And as you're bringing them down, I give them a bit of electrolytes. And what the electrolytes does, it keeps the body feeling good. Right? So if you've got a pigeon that's down and you give it your electrolytes, it makes it feel better. Even though it ain't better, it makes it feel better. It does. See, flying is one of the best things you'll ever see, right? And a good kit, which you don't see nowadays. It's very rare you'll see a good kit nowadays. A good kit will work for fucking hours. When I was in Leicester, when I flew in the World Cup, I flew 3 kits on the same day, back to back. The first kit scored 375, the second kit scored 450, and the third kit scored 525, I think. And that were back to back on the same day. You know. The first kit that flew landed and I gave it away.
What was it to your mate in
Derby.
Derby?
Mm.
So, in your eyes, Dave, who's got a good flying kit now when you go around on the flies?
If I'm honest, I've not seen a kit that I could turn around and say, that's worth watching. And that's the truth. I mean, I hear Mark's flew a couple of good kits and Darren flies some good kits, but every time I've been down Darren's not done any fucking thing. I've judged them down there and still not done no. But I'll ask the same question. What do you think? Don't you think Darren's are good? They are good. They must be good because every fucker else says he's going to do the job. But I've never seen it myself. And I won't comment if I ain't seen it myself. Last kit I've seen that were any good, I think, were My Souls. And they were fucking fantastic.
What year was that?
Oh, God. 2004. Sure. The next kit I ever seen was Pete Robbo's. Pete Robbo put a fucking lovely kit out, but they got nicked the next night. Yeah. They scored 300 odd. Moseley, I gave them 150 quality, and I left myself 50 quality points to work with, so that if I seen a better kit, I could increase the quality. Now, it's like quality points. They're not used properly. They're there for a purpose. Quality points are there for pigeons that can roll in the correct manner. So they've got to come out, got to roll, come down straight, finish properly, and go straight back to the kit. Right? That's rolling in the correct manner. It ain't got to be a fucking Rose Bowl winner. It ain't, because that's what the Rose Bowl's for. It's for the best individual, the best pigeon that you've seen on that fly. It is. Quality is pigeons that roll in the correct manner and go back to the kit properly. And don't fuck about.
That's right.
Yeah. And the problem with it now is they're not being used properly, so you're losing. Most of them will be on 30, 20. If you spent all year on kids' pigeons to get 20 quality points, you might as well put fucking kids' pigeons in the bin. Because they ain't no good. See what I mean?
So, what advice would you have, Dave, for newcomers starting up with the birds? Anything they could take away from yourself?
Problem with newcomers now, they'll come into the game, they'll go round, oh, he's got good pigeons, I'll buy them off him. He's got good pigeons, I'll buy them off him. He's got them, I'll buy them off him. Right? But they're not getting what they're fucking got. They ain't. They're getting what they'll let go. Yeah, he done the right thing. Two years ago he asked me for a bit of help. Right? I turned round to him and said, not now, but when I've got the time, I will help you. And I'm helping him this year. Right? And the pigeons he's got are very, very good pigeons. Yeah, not shit.
Yeah, I've seen them at his house.
They're very good. Yeah. Now, if I were getting rid of a pigeon and it weren't to the standard that I wanted to keep myself, I wouldn't get rid of it. I'll kill it and put it in the bin. That's why you don't see a lot of my pigeons around the country, because they're never there. If you've got 20 or 30 pigeons to get rid of, or you've got kits of this and kits of that to get rid of, there's got to be something fucking wrong. Because what you're saying is that, oh yeah, I've taken that kit and they're going to be good and I'll charge you fucking £1,000 for them, you'll be alright. He's done it twice, got fuck all.
So what's your advice for newcomers, and so what do you think you'll do now?
My advice to newcomers is like him. He rang me up, he says, I want some birds. I said, well, I'll sort you some out, but it's going to take time. And it has took time. And he's still coming now and fucking tapping. Yeah. But the thing is, I've had a lot of people ring me up and tell me about his birds. Now, when you get people ringing you up and saying, these birds are really nice, we've watched them, how come he's got pigeons like this? He's got pigeons like that because he took his fucking time.
He's got some beautiful birds. I like his birds.
He took his time. We worked together as a unit. Now, he'd ask me for some birds and I'd look through what he'd got and I'd give him birds that would suit him, that would go with him. And alright, he paid for the first ones, but he'll never pay for another pigeon from me as long as he lives.
Yeah, that's good. That's quite kind of you, Dave.
You know,
so for a newcomer,
for a newcomer, it's not going around buying a name, because a name will never give you nothing. You know, I mean, George in the 90s, he flew some cracking kids, George mentioned, and there was something to watch. I remember him in the 90s flying a kit in the World Cup, and the flew just over the river, didn't it? And fuck me, that was some kit that he flew there. You know. But you don't see him there now because he said he sells too many birds. And if you ask George, he'll tell you the truth, he does. I don't sell them. I don't. Or very rarely I sell them. And I'll only sell them if I don't know the person that's having them. Or, but the best thing to do is go on a few flies, go around the country, listen, don't listen to people talking, right? Don't listen to what they say is the best birds in the world, watch, right? And you'll see them. You will. Now, if they've got any consistency in flying, right, don't matter how many years they've been away from it, they should always put themselves back up on the top. From 2006 to 2014, I never flew a pigeon. I bred a kit of pigeons in 2013. I flew them in 4 flies, and I mean big flies, not fucking club flies, and they were in the first 2 in every fly. You know, that's one kit of youngsters turned up as yearlings. I put them in qualifier of the World Cup that won it. I put them in the qualifier of the South African fly, who were second. I put them in the final of the South African fly. That's the best of the best of theirs and ours, who were second. I flew them in the World Cup and they put 15 breaks in 9 minutes. Did it? And when the first one out, he turned around to me and said, there's not 20, you can ask Dom about this. He said, there's not 20 pigeons there, so I put another one out. The haven't been out, never been out. Well, it went up to them and come down and brought another one down with it. and it landed, right? So he turned around to me and says, "You're disqualified." And I said to him, "How the fuck am I disqualified?" He went, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, there's still 19 in the air." He says, 19? He said, "No, there's 2 down." I said, "But you've been penalising them breaks every time for a spare bird in that kit." I said, "You don't know which fucker is." I said, "I do." I said, "But you don't." I said, "So how can you disqualify them?" We disqualified them. And we stood there for 45 minutes after that, watching that kit break. Yeah. The kits are only as good as what you put them together as. And there's ways of putting kits together. It's no good. It's like we were flying these today, right? I said to him, he could have that black white fly. I said he could have it because it was causing problems in the kit, right? Now what it was doing is the pigeon, with the way our feed, is getting too much grub. So it's too far up, right? So it's getting fat on it. So what it's doing, the kit's coming up and the levelling off, and that's clapping, tumbling, coming down, fetching the kit down, then to go back up to them and to do the same thing again. It will. I don't want a pigeon like that. That pigeon has got to come up the same as everything else. It's got to be in the same condition as everything else. That pigeon to me is no good. I have to kill it. I've told him exactly what's wrong with it. I ain't told him it's a fucking good pigeon. It's bred well, but I've told him the fault in it. Right. When you're building a kit up, you need at least 5 very good working pigeons. When I'm talking about working pigeons, I'm talking about pigeons that break. And what happens with them 5 good pigeons, they'll take some of the rest with them. Well, and you want them steady as well. If they break, fuck off over there, or turn around there, no good. You don't want them. If you watch a pigeon and it rolls, it goes like that when it's done, dustbin follow. It is. It's all down to selection. Now when you select a pigeon, it's got to do everything that you want it to do. Right? It's got to fly by your rules, not by its own. So when you put that kit together, you build them up, you work them. Now anything that's not working to your way of doing it, get rid of it. It's no good. So, I'll let them pigeons out. They've got to come out of that shed on their own. They've got to go up in the air on their own. No throwing them up. You'll never see a pigeon throw up here. It's got to go up. It's got to work into the team, and then it's got to land on that shed. It is. Not on the roof, not on the fucking pylon, not on that pylon up there. It's got to land on the shed. Don't land on that shed, it goes in the dustbin. And it don't get 2 or 3 chances. It gets 1 chance. And that's it. And that's the chance it's just had when it landed on that fucking thing. And I don't care how old they are.
He was on about the tails out. Could you tell us a bit more about
Right. If you're working a kit, right, and you fly that kit every day, or every other day, and don't get no rest, its tail will go like a stick, right? And what you'll do is you'll put them out and they'll break once or twice, and you'll stand there watching them for the next 45 minutes and do fuck all. Well, and they'll come down, right? All the time you're doing that, you're getting fly fit.
Not roll fit.
Not roll fit, you're getting fly fit. So if you relax them pigeons, right, let's say you go a fly in February,
Yeah.
right? You'll bring them out beginning of February, fly them up to your fly, and then as soon as your fly's over, put the fuckers away. What have you got to fly them for? Right? Your next fly's in June. So get them out a month before June, get them ready, and fly them in June. And what you'll find is that kit, the less you fly it, the better it will fly. Until you want it, when you're coming up to a fly, then you'll see the difference. You'll see the difference in the way the pigeon flies, the pattern of it and everything. When you first hold them up, you'll fly them and they'll be going around in circles like this. As you start to bring them down, right, you'll start to see them pick a figure of 8 up and they'll be like this. And they ain't got to do a figure of 8, they'll do an oval. And they'll still break at each end. And you'll see them do this and they'll fly for 2 or 3 hours because they're getting fit. The fat's changing to muscle, the muscle's getting them the energy to fly, right? Once you start to take that muscle away from them, the time will start dropping. Now, what a lot of competition people do, we've got the pigeons flying in for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then they knock them down. What the fucking hell are they going to drop? Yeah. I flew these in a competition this year, not this year, last year, in the Euros, right? They spent 6 minutes on the clock. You were here, weren't you?
Mm.
The Orcs was battering them for the other 15 minutes. Right? We were flying fucking rockets up and everything. But in them 6 minutes, they scored 106 points. And when they landed on that shed, they didn't come running in the shed because they were starving. They started playing up, chasing the fucking hens. That's when they come in after that. Pigeon ain't got to be smashed to bits. And when you've got a tail, when you want that tail open, you rest the pigeon. You don't rest. When a pigeon starts to get roll fit, it will slow down in its wing beats, right? Its tail will start to open. That's when you start to get that pigeon in the right condition. Now, I can hold them in that condition for about 15 weeks. I can. Whereas I ain't got to touch them. Every time I put them out, they'll work. These are just coming into that same condition now, these youngsters. You ain't got to do nothing to them. They'll do it themselves. But you've got to have the right pigeons to do that. You've got to have pigeons that work, pigeons that have frequency, pigeons that work as a team. And you won't get this with buying pigeons here, there and every fucking way. You won't. Because you get 2 through too many. It's like Mark, I mean, it's great. It can fly pigeons from here, there and everywhere. But you add his fucking losses up through the year. How many pigeons he actually goes through to get them 20 birds?
He goes through quite a bit.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's okay thinking you can buy success. You can't buy success. You can't. It's got to be earned. And the only way you'll earn it is by watching and observing everything that them pigeons do.
Right, Mr. Moseley, thanks for your time.
Anything you want to ask?
Anything else you want to ask, lads?
No.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Dave. Ran out of memory.